I think what this podcast is going to be is more of a think tank for anybody that is pursuing life with passion and purpose. And that's really the whole crux of this really is I just want, anybody that's gone through something or anybody that's had to work through things or done hard stuff. I want to hear those stories. I want to hear those things. I want to just talk with interesting people and share those conversations with you guys. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of the Keifer Madness podcast. I am your host, Keifer Gilbert, and hopping on to knock out this first episode. Just wanted to do a couple of different things here. For those of you that don't know me, I am a former bartender, mixologist here in the Phoenix, Arizona area. A couple of years ago, I got sober and started on this whole journey of self-improvement and self-development, which has led me to do all kinds of stuff, going from competing in jiu-jitsu to running ultra marathons. And this journey has been something that I've started to document through my social media channels. And I've always had the dream of starting a podcast to kind of document this in a completely different way. It's always nice telling my story, but so much of my journey has included other people. And so what I'm wanting to do with this podcast is start pulling other people in so that they can tell their stories, share some of their insights, people that have guided me through this process, people that have been friends of mine for years, that I think just have a really good story to tell, a lot of stuff to share, and some good information to put out into the universe. So there's that portion of it. I just wanted to thank everybody that has been following along so far, that's been giving me encouragement, and that has even been asking where the podcast is at. So that's been cool, knowing that there's some people waiting for this thing to come out. It's been quite a bit of a process getting to this point. So one of the reasons that this first episode is coming out is that I'm testing a bunch of equipment, some software that I ended up going up with and picking out to host this thing. For the longest time, I was pretty dead set on this being an in-person podcast, and I really wanted it to be a little bit more of a production. And right now, I'm kind of getting to a point where I'm feeling like I owe it to myself to start delivering this. I've been talking about this podcast and dreaming this thing up for what feels like a couple of years now. So right now, I'm just kind of building the plane as I'm flying it. I've got a microphone, bit of software that helps me record these things and get it out there, and a pair of headphones. And that's really all I need to make this thing happen. So I'm kind of getting out of my own way here. And I'm just going to kind of start letting this thing rip. So that'll kind of take me to the next thing that I was wanting to talk about, essentially the current status of the podcast. So I've got a good lineup of guests that have agreed to come on. I have started, obviously, the recording process of these things. And so right now I am coordinating schedules with quite a few people to get some episodes recorded. And then we will start releasing episodes as soon as I get enough of a bank of those established to where I can keep a weekly cadence of releases without having to stress myself out too much, making sure that I'm recording with guests and staying on top of being able to be consistent with how many I'm putting out. So that's kind of the State of the Union address. That's essentially where everything's at. I'm assuming with the holiday season coming up that I'll start rolling out episodes early next year, so beginning of 2026, just because getting everybody kind of synced up throughout the holidays is already proving to be challenging. So that's kind of the current status of all of that. I'm really, really excited for this guest list. I've got people lined up all the way from ultra runners to, friends that have sold companies and made huge exits on that. I've got friends of mine that are James Beard Award winning chefs, Food Network personalities, mixologists here in town that are internationally recognized. And that kind of will pave the way to, the reason I'm telling you that is the podcast is not meant to be anything centered around a single topic. And I didn't want to alienate anybody in terms of people that have been following me or followed my journey from the get-go. I know nobody in that sector wants to sit and listen to us talk about running, at least episode after episode after episode. I think there is some things that people in the ultra running community do have to offer in terms of mindset, personal development, and things of that nature, and just honestly having some pretty insane stories on how their lives have come together to lead them to that point and get to the level that they're currently running at. So I do want to have people on in that format. I also didn't want this to be a sobriety podcast and that be the only thing that I can talk about, because again, I have a huge spans of interest and things that I like to do and things that I'm interested in. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to pigeonhole myself. And there's a lot of people that I've talked to about this podcast that have heavily advised against it and think that finding a niche or something like that can, speak to a certain area that people are going to be looking for. And really, I think what this podcast is going to be is more of a think tank for anybody that is pursuing life with passion and purpose. And that's really the whole crux of this, really, is I just want, anybody that's gone through something or anybody that's had to work through things or done hard stuff or, has hit rock bottom and bounced back. Like, I want to hear those stories. I want to hear those things. I want to just talk with interesting people and share those conversations with you guys. As a little bit of like the next evolution of kind of how my journey is transpiring is I want to start opening up as a little bit more of a vessel for people to be able to share their stories also. So with that being said, hang tight. I've got some great stuff coming. I've got some great guests that I'm planning to have on. And also bear with me. It's going to take a couple for me to sort of get the hang of this and sort of get all of this dialed in. But you guys have been great, just from the support side of everything thus far. I'll attach the social media handles in the show notes when I end up publishing this one. And I think, from a perspective, I've had a lot of people ask, how can I support? What can I do to help? The reason that I am putting this introductory episode out now also is so that I can start getting presence of the podcast out on different platforms. So if you're seeing this or listening to this or seeing this on social media, the best way you can help at this point is just go to the page, subscribe, or give it a rating or anything of that nature. Just make it so that it's easy for you to find when the next episodes start rolling out. So with that being said, guys, thank you for everything. Thank you, everybody. And stay tuned for more.